So the full lineup of Srixon irons, we've got the ZX4, we've got the ZX5, we've got the ZX7, and of course the blade, the Z-Forged. So today they're going to be going head to head on GC quad, swinging at 75 mile an hour and swinging at my normal swing speed as well. Of course, touching on looks, touching on feel, touching on forgiveness, and a deep dive into those performance numbers at both swing speeds, looking at ball speed, launch, spin, peak height, angle of descent, all the good techie, nerdy stuff that I love and hopefully you love as well. So it's going to be a nice, good, in-depth video comparing these irons. So let's jump straight in. Okay, so let's touch quickly on looks then. I mean, Srixon, very traditional cavity back looking irons, like a little bit edgy in places, but they've obviously been made to blend and blend very well. They do. Obviously the 4, 5 and 7 are very similar look. You can tell that the 4 is obviously quite a bit chunkier, like still cavity back kind of design, hollow body we know, but it still looks like that similar sort of cut out from the back, blending into the 5 and then into the 7 as well. So they blend really, really nicely, and then obviously into the blade, a different look, but it's a blade look, right? Just very, very clean from the back, chromy. I actually really, really like the look of it. It looks like a very classic blade, and obviously the V-sole of the Srixons as well, like really nice design, lovely through the turf, just really, really classic forged irons, really. So if we jump to a quick sort of down by the ball shot, so far we've got the ZX4 on the left, ZX5 in the middle, and then the 7 on the right. Now I literally just had to pick up the 7 to check that it was the 7 and not the 5, because the 5 and the 7 down there together look almost identical, like top line, heel to toe, everything. It basically looks like the same club, which obviously made to blend, and again, blend they do very, very well. The 4 does stand out as being that little bit of a chunkier top line, with it being hollow body, you kind of expect that. But again, the shape of it, how it sits down by the ball, easily you could blend that in with the 5s. I mean, really, you could have a full blended set of all of these, to be honest. I mean, they really, really do look very similar down by the ball. And if we take out the 4, so we've got the 5 on the left, we've got the 7 in the middle, and then we've got the blade now, the Z-Forged, on the right-hand side. It's noticeably smaller, the top line on the blade, as we would expect. Heel to toe, again, I think it's basically the same as the 7, really, maybe fractionally smaller, but not a lot. It's really just that top line that's noticeable, very compact, super, super nice looking club, traditional top line, yeah. That is the one that suits my eye the best, but, you know, I'm a sucker for a small top line, but in all honesty, they all look really good, blend very well, and yeah, awesome irons. Let me know what you think in the comments. So we're starting off in the ZX4, so really this is the distance iron of this lineup, 28.5 degrees, obviously in the 7 irons, 28.5 degrees, hollow body design, so really, really geared for distance. Now, we're going to start off with this 75 mile an hour swing speed. You all know my kind of thoughts around strong lofted irons, especially at lower swing speeds, so it's going to be interesting to see how this compares to the others in terms of the launch, the spin, what height are we getting, what angle of descent and that control are we going to be giving up. So be interesting to see. All the shafts are exactly the same, which is the Modus 120 stiff, and we're using a Pro V1X. That felt really nice. Again, 73. Oh, go on, go on. Oh, no. No, he did not. What? Wow, okay. ZX4, straight in the bag. But again, I mean, even that shot, right, if we look at from a launch conditions perspective, 17.7 launch, 4,500 backspin, which really, for swinging at this speed, in a fitting, I'd be trying to increase that launch, trying to increase that spin. So we only got to 60 feet in the air there and 37.7 descent. So it's not really a good ball flight for coming into greens and hoping to land softly and hold. It's going to keep running out, which actually there did me a massive favour. Might be another one in the hole. Certainly take it. Again, similar thing. I mean, the strike felt decent. I mean, it's looking, that was a little bit low in all fairness. A little bit low in the head. Again, a little bit low launch and low spin, isn't it? Felt pretty good. Nice. It's probably one of the best strikes so far, I'd say, with that. Yep, good. So about 8 mil low. I know it still looks thin, but 8 mil low in the head is pretty much exactly where we want to be, because we don't want to be all the way up here where these the dots up there are. So sort of 2-3 grooves up. So 8 mil low is great. Again, so it's still like, So that launched a bit higher, which is good because it was slightly higher on the face, but the spin's still low. The peak height still at 73, descent angle at 41. So it seems like this swinging at about 75 mile an hour. Yeah, about a high 140s carry we're getting out of the ZX4. Nice ball flight. Yeah, like that. It's a bit better. I'm striking it a little bit better. The launch is increasing a little bit more. 19.6, 48 backspin. Yeah, again, 145 carry. Does feel pretty solid, this. Again, take that. Yeah, it tends to be around that sort of 18, 19 launch, kind of mid-4 to high force backspin, sort of around 70 peak height, 40 descent. Seems to be a fairly decent average for swinging around that 75, 76 mile an hour. Okay, so jumping into the ZX5 from the 4 model, still going to be swinging at 75 mile an hour. Obviously now going up, so slightly smaller head, slightly smaller top line, looks a little bit nicer, but more importantly going from the 28.5 degrees of loft on the 4 model into 31 degrees of loft in this. Well, pretty good. Yeah, don't mind that one. Again, it was a little bit of a right push, but only ended up 4 yards right of target. Instantly, we see that launch come up, almost 22 degrees that was. Spin fairly similar, but the peak height's gone up to 78 feet, descent 43.6. So already a bit of a better ball flight. Yeah, certainly a nicer flight. Just launching that little bit higher. Yeah, again, similar. So launch comes up, spin a little bit more on that one. Peak height, 77, descent 43. Definitely getting that little bit more height, which I like. Again, nice. Yeah, like it. Getting that swing speed at 75, decent efficiency, better launch and spin again. We're seeing that consistently. We're probably losing, I don't know, 5 yards or so, something like that, against the 4, but definitely increasing that height, nicer ball flight, a little bit more stopping power. Okay, so going from the 5 into the 7, now there's less difference between these two, obviously a decent loft difference between the 4 and the 5, but the 5 being at 31, this is only at 32 degrees, so the 7 and the 5 really designed to blend, again from a looks perspective. If I put that down, considering I've just hit 10, 15 shots with the 5, I cannot really see any difference between the 5 and the 7. I mean, you're talking maybe fractionally smaller, but not really any difference. And only that 1 degree in loft difference as well. So, are we going to see any performance difference? That was nice. Beauty, like that one. Felt pretty good. Yeah, nice. Probably not seeing a lot different, to be honest, between the... Yeah, probably maybe a little bit more spin coming out of the 7 that I'm seeing, but fairly similar launch, peak height and angle of descent, actually fairly similar to the 5. That was nice. Yeah. We'll obviously take a look at the end in terms of the average numbers, but really, I mean, looks-wise, down by the ball, feel-wise, even really performance-wise, I really can't tell any difference between the 7 and the 5. Okay, moving into the blade, the traditional muscle back, the Z-Forged 2, 33 degrees in loft now, so the 5, 7 and the blade kind of go 31, 32, 33, so it's actually not massively different in terms of loft, again, designed to blend. Not too much, you know, tech-wise going on with this. They got the pure frame, so essentially taking a little bit of mass from the heel and the toe, putting it right behind where effectively a decent player is going to strike it consistently. But again, a lot of people will be put off by this kind of head. Genuinely, I think, especially this is probably one of the best blades out there, and actually pretty forgiving. Looks lovely behind the ball, really nice. That was so toey. I nearly missed that. That was horrendous. Again, I mean, it's interesting, right, where we were seeing Let's have a look at that strike. Yeah, that was just horrible. Felt not great at all. Again, that's literally what I was just saying about this club. Like, that's probably one of the worst strikes I've hit for a while out of any of these. The 5 and the 7, we were seeing carries of around 140, low 140s. This is the blade, terrible strike, and that carried 137. Pretty impressive. Great peak height and angle of descent as well. 79 feet in the air, 45 descent. And felt decent. Felt pretty good. Again, definitely instantly seeing more spin. Again, that was maybe a fraction lower in the head, to be fair, which we know is going to add a little bit more spin. But launch, probably fairly similar to the 5 and 7. Just seeing that spin climb. And actually on that one, again, pretty similar peak height and angle of descent. Felt a bit better. Yeah, we sit around at 140, again coming in, landing softly, stopping much, much quicker. Again, still seeing launch similar to the 5 and 7, around that 20 degrees. Spin up into the mid-5s. Again, still 73 peak, 43 descent, so not too dissimilar to the 5 and 7 in terms of ball flight. This one feels really nice. Does feel very nice. Obviously leaving the flag at the same distance the whole time, just so you can kind of see relatively how far each one's going. And obviously we are seeing a little bit less distance with this, which we would of course expect. It's going to spin more. There again, we see 5700. The more it spins, sort of the more the distance will drop back, but it will give you a little bit more control coming into the greens. It's still 137, so it's not like it's a long way back at all. It's definitely my favourite feeling for sure. Again, I mean, still getting close to that 140 carry number, so you're really not giving up that much yardage. And I guess for slower swing speeds in general, obviously you're trying to gain yardage, of course, but generally speaking, when you actually sit down and you work out all the yardages throughout the set, how much better something like this or the 7 would gap than something like the 4, and okay, we're probably giving up, I don't know, 6, 7 yards with this against the 4, but the ball flight's going to be better across the bag, especially sort of in the longer irons. The gapping's going to be better into the shorter irons. Yeah, really good. Right, let's take a look at the data. Right, 75 mile an hour swing speed, performance numbers. Let's jump straight into it. Biggest things we're going to be looking at is obviously distance, peak height, angle of descent. So that's the ball flight. So obviously we've got ZX4, ZX5, ZX7 and the blade down the bottom. We can see that ball speed obviously gets lower as we go from the ZX4 down into the blade. We'd expect that from a loft perspective, of course, a little bit of head design too, but a lot of that will be loft. Obviously a similar pattern with launch and spin. The one thing that does stand out is the ZX5 launched really well, which we'll touch on in a minute, which could be great for a lot of people at slightly lower swing speeds. Actually launched basically the same as the blade. Blade, obviously we're going to get a lot more spin. We expect that, which is good for certain people. Distance-wise, maybe not as much as some of you might think, only 8 yards from the blade to the ZX4 in terms of carry. So it's not dramatic in terms of considering the loft is way different and the head design is way different. If anything, you might expect a little bit more than that, really. But so yeah, 146 from the ZX4, 143 from the ZX5, 140 from the ZX7, and 138 into the blades. Again, only 2 yards between the ZX7 and the blade, only 5 yards between the ZX5 and the blade. So again, maybe not as much as you would expect. Now let's touch on the ball flights, which at this speed is one of the biggest things we would look at in a fit, in making sure we're getting decent height and good descent as well as good distance. And again, like I said, the ZX5 stood out really well in that. So the 4 flying a bit lower than we'd like realistically. Peak height average 69 feet, descent angle 40. So that's coming in a little bit hotter than I'd like. Big jump up to the ZX5, 77 feet, 43 descent. So again, much better. I know it doesn't sound a lot, 40 to 43, but that is a significant increase in descent angle. And you'll have a decent amount more stopping power coming into the greens. So you actually go back down in the ZX7 to 72 feet, 42.2 descent. So actually we're getting a little bit more height, a little bit more descent, and a little bit more distance from the ZX5 than the 7. So for a lot of people, it could be a better bet. And then 75 feet, 43.4 descent with the blade. So actually flying the highest was the ZX5. The descent angle was slightly better with the blade because that little bit more spin, but actually the ball flight from the ZX5 was fantastic. So yeah, for a lot of you out there swinging at that sort of speed, does depend on your delivery, hitting up, hitting down, what loft you deliver has a massive part to play, but the ZX5 performed very, very well. So let me know in the comments below, is that exactly what you expected? Just to show you quickly from a swing speed perspective, I tried to keep it as fair as possible. Obviously, this is not my swing speed. Any outliers I did delete. So, you know, average swing speed with each of the heads, 75.5, 75.5, 76, 76. So it's well within a mile an hour. So I did my best to make it a fair test of these heads. Right, I'm going to hit a few at my full swing speed just for some of you out there that might be quicker swing speeds. I'll only show you a couple of shots with each. So we go through it pretty quickly and then obviously look at the data at the end. Jumping into the ZX4, pins now push back to 194. Felt a little bit more solid. Still great ball flight. Go on. Ooh. Like that. Certainly going from the blade into this definitely just doesn't feel as buttery soft, which I guess you'd expect, right? But again, I mean, it's actually pretty good. 17 launch, 58 backspin. So outside, that's probably going to be low sixes on the backspin front, which is actually pretty good for a 7 iron. 114 peak. Obviously, now at this speed, you don't really have to worry about height. I'm going to hit everything mega, mega, mega high. But yeah, I mean, absolutely take that from 194. Again, another good one. Actually, it does feel quite good, this. Go on, kick down there. Go on. I mean, there's been one hole out with this. There's 2 back-to-back from that yardage. Might just have to get a set of ZX4s, honestly. I mean, there's 3 in a row. It's just going in the bag. It's got to. Kick left. Come on. Again, yeah. Probably don't really need to hit any more than that, do I? It's good, this. And that one didn't feel flushed, to be fair. Still, you're not going to grumble at that. I mean, that was low heel. Yeah, a bit low heel. What do we drop off? 182 carry. That's about 190. It's about 8 yards. I mean, it's really not bad. That one felt nice. Yeah, it's actually very enjoyable to hit this ZX4. Right, back into the ZX5, full swing speed. Oh, that's horrendously bad. I mean, that was the first shot I hit with that. And very low heel, felt super thin, felt horrible. It's 172 carry. It's been interesting to see what I get on a good one, see how much that dropped off. Because the one that felt like pretty much identical to that with the ZX4 that I hit, probably saw about 6 or 7 yards drop off. Felt a bit better. Yeah, 180 carry, okay. Yeah, bit of a better strike. Yeah, good efficiency. So was that 179 carry? So yeah, about a similar drop off, really. Again, felt pretty good. 182, yep. It's kind of what I expected out of this, to be fair. That one felt really good. Yeah, best one I've hit with that. 185. Nice. Again, good numbers. I mean, 18.5 launch, 5,900 backspin. A little bit low on the spin front, of course, but an iron like this, it's really not bad. Right, ZX7 time, full swing. Felt decent. A little bit of a draw, but felt good. Okay, it's about 181 carry. Not too dissimilar to the 5. Again, as we spoke about earlier, I mean, there's only 1 degree of difference in loft between these 2 clubs, and from a profile and size perspective, don't have much difference. So again, I'm not expecting to see a huge difference. Again, like low heel. Okay, 172 carry, I think that was. So again, that felt very similar to the one that I hit with the ZX5. Low and in the heel, very low in the heel. I think the carry, again, exactly the same. So realistically, I don't feel like really don't feel like there'd be any difference in forgiveness between the 7 and 5. It wasn't the cleanest. Yeah, 181. Decent numbers, seeing that little bit more spin out of the 7 than the 5, which again we saw at that lower swing speed, which I like, but realistically performance and ball flight and distance. Yeah. How has that done that? Felt like it was going way left. Whew. That one went miles. It absolutely just flushed that. Yeah, flushed and a little bit of a draw. 187. Ooh. Finally, back into the blade. Going to keep the pin at 194. Might struggle to reach the green, but we'll see how we get on. Again, it felt okay. Yeah, 177, nice. You're probably going to see that spin come way up now to 7,000. 19 launch, over 7,000 spins. And now really, I'll be looking at that thinking on course, it's probably going to spin slightly higher than in here. It's probably too much spin, but still, 177 carry. Oh, that feels so good. Oh, this feels nice. Yeah, again, bang on 177. Consistency. Again, felt good, really good. Little draw, 180 carry. Well, it's certainly consistent in the carry number. Again, 6.5 spin, 17 launch, 6.5 spin. Was that 179 carry? Oh, that was so toey. Again, like the it's probably less drop off than any of the others. It just did not feel good at all. But again, like, feels pretty forgiving to me. Oh my, that. Getting tired now. Okay, it's like 172, which is exactly the same as what the ZX5 and 7 carried. That felt lovely. I must say, this is definitely my favourite feeling out of all of them. Again, you kind of expect it, right, with it being the blade, but it just feels so good out of the middle, soft, just absolutely lovely, really good. Right, jumping into my standard swing speed, same pattern, ZX4, 5, 7, and then the blade at the bottom. So of course we're going to see a similar pattern of ball speed getting lower as we get down, although I did actually get a little bit more out of the blade than the 7. It just clicked with me, I hit it better. Like, really best to best, they would have been fairly similar, but on average I did get a little bit more out of the blade. And again, same pattern, as we go down, more spin, so almost 1,000 more spin I was getting from the blade than the ZX4, although, you know, really, that's probably going to spin not far from 6,000 outside, so 17 launch, 6,000 spin from that 7 iron at that loft, at that head design. Srixon doing a really good job there of creating a little bit more spin out of that. Again, the most noticeable thing, the ZX5, again, it flew the highest, so it's definitely a pattern there of that peak in the highest. I mean, I was about 115 with the 4, the 7, and the blade, about 115, about the same. Went up to just over 120 with the ZX5, which for me, I'm not necessarily looking to gain height. I already hit it more than high enough, but there's definitely a pattern there of that flying that little bit higher there. And again, carry, it's a similar, similar difference really in terms of about 180 on average with the blade, 179, only a yard in it between the ZX7 and the blade. It's only 3 yards between the blade and the ZX5. It's not really as much as you might think, and less than 10 yards between the ZX4 and the blade, again, at my speed. So, again, considering the loft difference, considering the head design difference, yeah, it's probably not as much difference as you think between those heads. I mean, it's quite impressive that the ZX5 still flew the highest, because swing speed, for some reason, I did notice this, like my average 95, 95, 95, 93, so just swung it slightly slower. No idea why, but again, trying to keep it as fair as I possibly can. We see the loft change, obviously, because the loft difference between the heads, but yeah, that ZX5, I think it could be a really good head for a lot of people. If you've got a slightly slower swing speed, mid to low swing speed, and you're looking to gain distance, but want to create that little bit more height, it could be a great one to try. There we go, an in-depth look at the performance of these heads at both speeds. I hope you enjoyed that. Looks and feel, obviously for me, I'm going to give it to the blade. I think a lot of people would agree with me. Whether or not you would put it in the bag yourself would depend on a lot of variables. But for me, top line looked the best, profile looked the best, feel the softest. 5 and 7, I wouldn't say there was much there, even in looks and feel, to be honest. The 4 maybe felt a little poppier, a little firmer, a little clickier. But again, in all honesty, still pretty good for the type of iron that it is. Forgiveness, that's always a tricky one for me, because I'm always one for diving into the data and really trying to see if we can tell much, looking at the strike, looking at all the other variables, path, face path, delivered loft speed, everything. It's very hard to quantify, if I'm completely honest, even with swinging faster, so therefore at a higher speed you should really see more of a drop-off relative. I say definitely the 5 and the 7, I wasn't really noticing any difference whatsoever. 4, again, maybe fractionally better, but it's really hard to say. And then the blade, again, fractionally worse maybe, but look, we all know we live in a world of golf marketing now, where the marketers of the world would lead you to believe that there's a vast gulf in forgiveness between these kind of irons, the same as they do with the drivers. The reality is it's a lot closer than that. It really, really is, and it always has been. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that that is one of my big messages, that get the clubs that suit you the best, to perform the best consistency, the best numbers. Drop off, yeah, probably isn't going to be as bad as you think. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment below, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you want to see next. We're going to be trying to switch it up the content a little bit, bringing you testing videos like this, fitting content, and maybe some other different content as well, dabbling with some encore stuff coming into summer. So yeah, please subscribe, stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.